Everybody has a book in them, don't they? Everyone wants to write a book, but how do you actually get past those first few sentences on the page? Well, someone on the coast may have come up with a novel idea. In fact, Robert Turner is calling his idea Novel Ideas, and he joins me this afternoon. Robert, hello.
Hello, Mary Lou.
You are a writer. When did you start writing?
I started writing when I was at college, when I was in my early 20s.
What was the spark?
The spark was, I don't know, just some of the stuff that I was getting into and the books that I was reading. And it was just one of those things where you read a book and you go, that's not how I would have done it.
I could do this better.
Well, I don't know about better, but different, certainly, yes.
And did you find it frustrating? Did you kind of start and stop all the time, like a lot of people do?
I do. I'm notorious for that. I will start and I will power on, and the writing will just flow through me. And then, maybe 2-3 days later, once I've purged, basically, it just goes. It's a bit of an effort to push yourself once you've lost that spark.
Yeah.
But I find that if it's something that you continually have in your mind, the spark comes back very quickly. At home, I have a whiteboard pen next to my fridge, and I have a very multicoloured fridge with all my ideas on it, which is so much cheaper than a whiteboard.
That's a really good idea. I have to give that a go. You put your writing aside for a little while, but then you came back to it. What prompted that return?
I was going through a bit of a crisis, an emotional crisis. Quite recently, I was supporting my mother through terminal cancer, and I found that in between, caring for her, I was a little bit lost, and so what I did is. I'm an escapist. I write fiction, so it was an opportunity for me to escape the day-to-day reality and explore something totally different and just really immerse myself in the content. And it was great. It was very, very therapeutic.
And your mother has now passed on?
She is in her final stages. I'm no longer providing care for her.
Okay. And so what happened when your time was freed up?
When my time was freed up, I looked over the years and years of scribblings and scratchings and all the stuff that I've been doing, and I just thought, my house burnt down tomorrow, this would all be lost. So I thought, I've really got to get it out there into some kind of written form where people can see it, where I can share it.
And did you have anyone helping you through this process? Getting it all down onto written form, so that if your house burnt down, you wouldn't lose it all?
No, it's something that I've already printed, and I've just got stacks of A4 paper everywhere. I've got a box of stuff, with bits and pieces and thoughts and sticky notes and all that kind of stuff. So that's essentially why I started the group, because I was at that point where I was going, I need to do something more. And then I looked around the other groups, and it was all learning about simile and metaphor and the nitty-gritty and the punctuation. And I went, I'm beyond that. I know how to write. I'm writing. I'm writing some really good stuff. And so I just put a notice in the local paper, and people started coming along. They have this wealth of life experience and a variety of experience and talent and inspiration. And sitting around the table, because it's a very informal kind of process, sitting around the table, most days I will laugh, I will cry, I will, I will look at people very strangely, and it's just an inspiring kind of concept to go through.
Let's talk about Novel Ideas, because it is a writing group primarily. You've called it Novel Ideas, which is fantastic, I think. And so it was just you putting a notice in the paper saying, I'm going to be at the Nambour Library at this time. Come and join me. That was pretty much it.
That's it. And since that first notice went in the paper, I've pretty much had a full room every week.
Wow. So many writers on the coast. It's great.
It's fantastic, and the stuff that they write is just amazing. Like, I've got one lady who writes ghost story, another that writes a murder mystery, one that does some stuff around spiritual enlightenment.
So the whole idea is just to facilitate and help each other through this process
Very
of,
much so.
well, you've written something, but how do you hone it? How do you keep going when you feel like stopping? All that kind of stuff. But what about continuing that through to approaching publishers and agents and that kind of stuff?
The publishing process is a little bit tricky. Like, if you were going to go to a publisher, they would have to critique your work and decide whether it was the right type of thing for their business, because essentially that's their bottom line. Is this going to be good for us? So you can wait years and wade through a lot of different publishers to get to that point where somebody's willing to pick up your book. However, some of the local success stories, such as the 4 Ingredients Cookbook, Annette Sim, there's a number of local writers out there now. A lot of them do self-publishing, and that, I think, is essentially where we will get most of our interest from, especially in the early stages.
And there are certain structures in place for print on demand, so you don't have to spend all your hard-earned money, having thousands of copies of the book sitting in your garage. But say someone comes along to Novel Ideas for the very first time, Robert. I am speaking to Robert Turner, who's the instigator of Novel Ideas, which is a writing group with a difference on the coast. What can they expect? They've got a bit of writing. They're perhaps having trouble with their novel. They've got 25,000 words into it, and they've come to Novel Ideas for a bit of help. What could they expect?
A very supportive, friendly environment. There isn't a teacher. We're not critics. If people are willing to share their work with us, we are very flattered by that. What we do as a group is we will read the work that is put in front of us, and we talk to the person as to how it makes it feel, what kind of imagery they're using, how we're connecting with a piece of work that they've written and shared with us. So it's a very, very supportive environment, and sometimes I know, especially in some of the stuff that I write, I will write it, then I will proofread it, but because I know the story and it's all up here, I don't connect with every single word and punctuation mark as, say, somebody who's reading it for the first time. So I find that if I could use the word first-time readers of the work, that process is very, very important to us, because coming from a place of no knowledge of the work, it enables you to get some very clear feedback about how it connects with the reader, and you can speak to the reader on the spot. You don't have to worry about, are you going to make the New York Times bestseller list right now? You can actually speak to the person and say, what did you think?
Yeah. I think all people write really because they want to be read, and here is a perfect opportunity in a very supportive environment. It is called Novel Ideas. I have Robert's details here. If you want to give me a call on the coastline, 1300 903 222, I can pass them on to you. If you're a writer, I know there's a lot of us out there, and you need a bit of help, support, encouragement, feedback, this might be the place for you.